Everyone, this is Justin Clifton here. I hope you all are doing well. I know it might not seem like it, but I am currently in the middle of a city with over 1 million people. But it happens to be a city that is in the midst of nature. To cut to the chase, I am currently in Panama City, and I am currently hiking up the Acero here in Panama. It has the highest elevation in the city, I believe. Buenos días. So I've been hiking up this trail for about 10 minutes or so, and those are the first people that I've seen on the trail. But I believe that from the peak of this hill, there's a pretty nice view of the skyline of Panama City, and there's a pretty nice view of Casco Viejo. It's like the old colonial part of the city. And I believe there's also a view of the canal. I think it's not quite 360 degrees, but it's pretty close to that. So I figured that I just realized that I've got my GoPro on me, and I figured I might as well take it out. Oh, there's actually some views right here on the side. This is a view of the Casco Viejo. I don't think the GoPro is picking it up very well, and there's the ocean over there, the Pacific Ocean, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a few ships that are waiting to pass through the Panama Canal over there. But I'm sure the view will be a lot better once I get to the top. It has been a really long time since I uploaded anything to YouTube. For a good chunk of this year, pretty much since April until now. It's currently the middle of September. I have been very busy with business, very busy with some personal matters, but the good news is that I have more or less accomplished most of my goals for this year. And in this video, I want to talk about something that's been on my mind, and also it's raining a bit, so if there's, if I get, water on my glasses, or maybe water on the lens of the GoPro, I might need to take a moment to clean it off. What I want to talk about in this video is I feel like there are a lot of people. So obviously with COVID-19, there has just been a huge explosion of remote work. I've been working remotely for my entire career since around 2016. I've been working remotely. I was 21, I started my own business, and I just haven't looked back since. But for a lot of people, this is the first time in their lives that they can actually work remotely. And buenos días. Yeah, and sometimes I just have to I don't really like to monologue, like whenever I've got a video camera and there's just like one other person walking by. They just get to hear a little snippet of my my video. I feel like some of my videos without context would sound really quite strange. But this is an interesting tree here. Lots of beautiful trees here in Panama. I heard there's all kinds of nature in this park, like sometimes you can see toucans, and there's just lots of various critters going around. But yeah, so with remote work, and people can really, you know, work wherever they want. I'm sure there are some companies that say, oh yeah, you can work remotely, but you have to stay within the US. I'm sure there are some companies that have policies like that. But it just really blows my mind how when people are like, they get the opportunity to work remotely, and they can, it's really like the sky's the limit. Like there's practically no boundaries, and they're like, oh yeah, cool, I'm gonna go from LA to Las Vegas. And I'm not necessarily saying that it's not an improvement to go from LA to Las Vegas. Obviously that improves your tax situation significantly, but it just seems really strange to me how, you know, you've got you know, basically you know, ladders in terms of how the cost of living of a place, the tax burden of a place. And when people finally get an immense amount of freedom to go where they want, they decide, oh yeah, I'm gonna go up, like, I'm gonna go down like one rung of the ladder in terms of cost of living. I'm gonna go like up or go down one rung of the ladder in terms of the tax burden. I mean, I'm talking about, like, you know, cost of living, like the prices go down, tax burden, taxes go down. I'm not, so I mean, you could look at it as like you're going up or you're going down. What I'm saying is you're improving your situation. Oh, that's really nice. There's a view of the skyline of Panama City over there. Again, I don't feel like the GoPro is really doing it justice, but yeah, really nice views over there. So yeah, improving your situation, lowering your cost of living, or improving your financial situation, at least. Obviously there's other factors like going to places with better weather, places where you can live a, you know, healthier lifestyle, like perhaps the, you know, pollution is lower. There's a lot of different factors to consider, but it just really blows my mind how people just they're not thinking globally. Like they just think, oh yeah, I've got all this freedom, now I can move wherever I want to in the US. No, if you're working remotely, you can move wherever you want to in the entire world. Sure, there's, you know, a few extra steps. It's you know, you might have to do a bit of paperwork to become, you know, legal in another country, but it is entirely doable, especially if you have some assets to work with. So I guess the main thing that I want to go over in this video is I want to do a rundown of, if you are, say, if you're working remotely, and let's say you're from the US. This is not really, you know, this video is not really geared towards people that are not US citizens, but if you're not a US citizen, your situation is even better, honestly, at least from a tax perspective. I'll get into that. But like, let's say you're a US person, you're working remotely, and you're still in the US, and let's say you're doing pretty well for yourself. Like, let's say you're making around, or at least $100,000 a year. You're really a prime candidate for, you know, taking advantage of some of the systems that I'm going to talk about. So, first of all, let me just paint you a picture of, you know, the situation that I was in. You know, I started my business and it was starting to grow and grow and grow. I was basically doubling my revenue every single year, and now thankfully I'm at this point where I'm doing very well for myself, making good money, you know, making over 100K a year, and seems like there's a checkpoint up here, but yeah, they have, I think they have pretty good security here at this hill. They want to make sure that it's, you know, only well, they want to make sure that there are no criminals that are getting on the hill, just, you know, tourists and, you know, regular locals, because you're pretty, like, isolated out here, isolated from the rest of the city and isolated from many other people. But yeah, I'll go ahead and pass this checkpoint here. And yeah, I won't film the checkpoint just to be on the safe side. You never know. Sometimes people aren't so comfortable with cameras around. Okay, more stairs. Okay, yeah, I am gonna keep the camera facing the stairs because I need to look where I'm going, not look at the camera. So due to COVID, I was basically forced to go back to the US because I didn't have, I had just been living on tourist visas in various places around the world, and I didn't have legal residence anywhere else. Oh, there's like a centipede, millipede, probably centipede. Those things are everywhere here in Panama. But anyway, I was basically forced to go back to the US because, you know, obviously COVID is a situation where I didn't know how long it would last, and I figured hey, this could easily last more than 6 months, and I can't really legally be in any other country for an extended period of time, like for, you know, year round effectively. And so I was basically forced to go back to the US and kind of have like a year trial of, like, once I started my online career, I pretty much moved abroad almost immediately. Just the benefits were quite obvious to me, but now that my business has grown more and more, like the benefits just stack on top of each other. So, oh yeah, there's a little critter over there. There's one over there too. I'm not gonna get off the trail. Okay, left or right, I have no idea. I think it goes to the same place, so I'll go left. There's a telecom tower here. So yeah, I think the flag here, that's the top. So I'm pretty much here. Oh, there's another guard. Feeling secure. Buenos días. So yeah, I was back in the US, and you know, paying the US cost of living, paying, you know, full tax burden for being in the US, all that stuff. Oh wow, there's a really big bird over here. It's probably gonna fly away when I get close. Whoa ho ho. That's a cool bird. Okay, looks like there's a little bit more. Bienvenidos al Cerro Ancon. Welcome to Ancon Hill. And so, I mean, there's a few things to consider, right? Like, you've got cost of living in the US, which is, you know, there's obviously developed countries that are way more expensive than the US, but overall it's, you know, a fairly expensive place to be. And obviously, like, I'm from Texas, so you pretty much need a car to live there, which is a big upfront expense. And then you need car insurance, and then you need health insurance. I recently, well, I turned 26 this year, which means that I got kicked off of my parents' insurance, and so that means that I had to start paying for my own insurance, which, if you're a self-employed person and you're making pretty good money, you don't really get any discounts. And so it really adds up. But I'll run through the specific numbers with you. It seems like the this part, the flag is closed off. There's a few people over there enjoying the view. I think I'll give them some space. So to run through the numbers, it was basically, if you're making 100K or more, you're looking at paying an extra 20K in income tax. If you're self-employed, you're getting really hammered with self-employment taxes. You're looking at around 15%. You know, it's up to a certain amount. Like there's a cutoff for Social Security. Medicare is just infinite. Like, as long as you're making money, they're taxing you for Medicare. Now, like, just going abroad doesn't mean you can immediately like avoid or legally reduce your self-employment taxes. There are, you know, ways around that, but that's really beyond the scope of this video. But you're basically paying an extra, like, you're able to, if you're living outside the US full-time, you're able to, there's something called the Foreign Earned Income Exclusion, and you're able to basically not pay income tax on the first 100, it's a little over, it's adjusted for inflation every year, but it's around a little over 100K, like 108K. You exclude that from income tax, which amounts to around $20,000. So that's pretty huge savings just on income tax alone. And then you factor in the cost of living benefits of living abroad. You know, you can go to many countries that are, you can basically cut your cost of living in half just by moving to another country. And really, like, the biggest expense in getting there is just paying for the flights to get there. You know, you might pay like $500 or $750 for a flight, and then your ongoing, like, month-to-month living expenses in your new country are around $1,000 a month. And so, and then we can talk about insurance. You know, I was mentioning how I was paying for my own insurance, and that, like, the cheapest plan I could get, like catastrophic plan in Texas, was around $300 a month, which just, actually I think it was even more than that, like $330 a month, which is just absurd because, you know, in many countries around the world, I can, well, first of all, I can get like global nomad insurance for around $40 a month, as long as I'm excluding the US. Anytime you're doing health insurance in the US, the rates are way higher just because healthcare in the US is the most expensive in the world. So then you're looking at, you know, roughly, you know, $40 a month for, you know, nomad insurance. Every country except the US. There's a few exceptions, like obviously you can't, like, they're not going to cover you in Iran, North Korea, you know, some of those countries. But you get pretty much global insurance coverage for like $40 a month, compared to just, you know, $330 a month for basically just insurance only in Texas. And yeah, I mean, just from a financial perspective alone, I mean, you're looking at, just by moving abroad, just factoring in tax, like income taxes and health insurance savings, and obviously keep in mind, this is, you know, this advice is primarily for self-employed people, like people that are not self-employed. They're in a different situation. Probably you have health insurance through your job. Something along those lines. That's another discussion we could get into about how in the US they really want you to basically have a, you know, 9-to-5 job so that you can have your benefits. Like, if you're trying to go out on your own and do things on your own, they really make it more difficult in terms of, you know, expensive health insurance, in terms of, you know, higher self-employment taxes. And so, you know, as the land of of entrepreneurship, there are some things that are really not so conducive to helping people, you know, jumpstart their own businesses or their own practices. But yeah, just looking at the tax situation alone, I mean, you're looking at saving, you know, around, well, just over 20 grand, like 23 grand, something along those lines. And then you factor in, you know, the cost of living savings as well. This can vary wildly. Like, obviously, if you're coming from a place like California, and you're going to, if you're coming from California, then your cost of living is going to be a lot higher than if you're coming from Texas. So, like, if you're in California, like, all these numbers are even more extreme. Like, I'm just giving you my numbers from Texas, but obviously California has a much higher cost of living. So you might be able to, instead of cutting your cost of living in half, maybe you cut your cost of living down to like a quarter of what it was previously. And then also, you know, California has state income tax. Texas has no state income tax. So if you're coming from a really expensive place, a high tax place like California, then the benefits are even more extreme. And so, and in terms of, well, like you could say, oh, well, what about getting into the tax net of some other country? And that's obviously a concern, but you have various options. I mean, what I like to do is I can either spend, you know, my entire year, you know, once you get, you know, legal in a place, you could spend your entire year in some tax-friendly country. Like, for instance, I'm currently in Panama, and in Panama, they have a territorial tax system, which means that they're only taxing people based on the income sourced from within the country. So if you have an online business, or your income is coming from, say, investments abroad or a business abroad, well, that's not really subject to Panamanian tax. And I've got to clarify all of this. Like, I'm not a tax expert. Like, I'm not a tax professional. I'm not a lawyer. Like, this is not legal advice. This is just, I'm just recounting my experience and kind of explaining how various things don't really, I'm just explaining what makes sense to me and what my experience has been. I'm not, like, obviously, like, you're in your own situation and you need to, you know, consult professionals. So that's just a little disclaimer I got to throw out there. But yeah, if you're in Panama and you have like the legal right to live here year round, then you can pretty much be in a pretty good tax situation, or you can just kind of bounce around and spend time in various countries. And as the rule is, if you're spending 6 months or less in a country, then you're not going to be a tax resident there. And so as long as you're kind of like bouncing around, and you're not staying more than 6 months in any one country, then you're pretty much fine. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up this video. I don't want it to drag on for too long. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And feel free to give this video a thumbs up if it was thought-provoking, gave you some things to think about. But I will go ahead and try to get some shots of the skyline here. I'll try to walk over there and let you see what the view is like, and then I will close out the video. All right, everybody, take care. Thanks for watching.
Say you wanna fix our problems. How long should I be waiting? Feels like I've had too much of drama, but I'm not ready to give in.